is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
Greetings and scarutations. I'm Michael.
I'm Jessica.
And we are the Grimm Life Collective, coming to you from whatever device you're choosing to watch this video from. Maybe it's a phone, maybe it's a TV, or because we're here with an iconic vampire, possibly even a puddle of blood. Just kidding. We're here with Juliet Landau for a little Grimm interview.
This one has power. I could feel it from the outside.
Yeah, he's the big noise in these parts. Anointed and all that.
Do you like daisies? I plant them, but they always die. Everything I put in the ground withers and dies. Spike, I'm cold.
Head scrub.
Okay, bangs all good?
I think we're good. You said fangs are all good?
Fangs.
I love it, I love it. Juliet, thank you for joining us here to talk on the Grimm Life Collective.
I'm so excited to be here. I love what you do, so I can't wait to have this conversation.
Can I say first and foremost, you're like ageless. I think you really are a vampire.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Now, I'm kind of a little nervous. One, because I grew up with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and your character Drusilla, but also this is probably the most professional we've ever done anything on the Grimm Life Collective.
Oh my gosh.
Usually it's like couches or basements or climbing down a mountain, but this, sitting with you, is awesome.
Wonderful. Well, maybe we'll get to do it again, climbing down a mountain another time.
Yes, yes.
I'm down for that.
Now, the Grimm interview is basically this. Think of it more of like story time than an interview.
Oh, I love that.
So I picked 3 projects that you've worked on.
Okay.
And I'm curious as to what your favorite memory is working on them. The first one being Ed Wood.
Oh.
So if you can look back and think about your time working on Ed Wood, Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Bill Murray, so many amazing people in that. What's your fondest memory?
Oh, it's so hard to pick one. So many memories. Let's see. Well, let me start with the audition process. I went in to read for Vicki Thomas, was the casting director, and she had cast me in my first job, and I was working on the 3rd film I'd ever done. It was a movie called Direct Hit with William Forsythe, and we were shooting nights. And I went in and I think I had slept an hour. And we did the audition, and afterwards I said to Vicki, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit delirious. I've been working, 17 hours and I slept an hour. And she said, oh, you should have mentioned it. We could have had you come in later. I left. 2 days later, I get a call from my agent, and she says, oh, well, Tim, is really excited, and you're gonna go back in and meet Tim. I said, fabulous. So I prepare to go back in. I'm sitting in the waiting room and looking at my dialogue and all that stuff, and they said, oh, no, Tim just wants to meet you. You're not gonna even be auditioning. I said, okay, wonderful. I went in. The first thing that happened is I walk in the room, and Tim says, I think 10 times in a row, I loved your audition. I loved your audition. This is amazing. This is so great. We have what proceeds to be the most incredible stream of consciousness discussion. We never talked about the film. I don't even know what we talked about. It was just so creative and fascinating and fun. And I do remember at one point I mentioned that I was about to do a David Rabe play that was called In the Boom Boom Room, and it's what I had gotten into the actor's studio with. And I was talking about the character, and he said, oh, so you're not available, and I can't remember the month, but, oh, you're not available in August. And I said, for this movie? And he said, yes, it sounds like you're busy and you're not available. And I said, oh no, this is Equity Waiver Theater. This is 99-seat theater. Like, we can work around your schedule, Tim. And so I leave the audition, and I said, I have no idea what that meant, because we didn't talk about the movie, I don't know, but I had the best time. And so 2 days later, my agent leaves a message and she says, call me, it's about Ed Wood. And I think, oh my God, maybe it's good news, this is amazing. And I pick up the phone, I get her on the phone, and she says, so Juliet, the casting office called, and do you have the bathroom key by any chance? And I say, no, I don't have the bathroom key, because I remember that they had it so that no one would take it and abscond with it from the audition. They had it on this huge hanger. I mean, like a man's suit hanger, the ring. And so I remember, I'm like, there's no way I could have taken that thing. And they said, well, my agent said, well, will you just check your belongings, because they're pretty sure that you have the bathroom key. I'm like, no, and I go and I get my purse, and I open it up. Sure enough, this huge thing is like rammed into my purse. Oh my gosh, I have their bathroom key. I said, would you mind bringing it back? Because they actually don't have another copy. So I had to do the walk of shame with the bathroom key, like come back to the office and they're like, hi Juliet, I'm like, hello, and I give them back the bathroom key. So then a few more days go by, my agent calls me, it's about Ed Wood. I pick up the phone, I'm like, what? I don't have the bathroom key anymore. I gave it back. No, you actually got the role. And so that was my first entree, was stealing the bathroom key.
It's funny that as you're telling this story, it reminded me of something. I kind of have a somewhat Ed Wood, Johnny Depp story. Ooh. And a bathroom.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
And I told people this, and it's almost like legendary, like old Hollywood legends. And well before Jessica and I moved here, I was out here visiting some friends, and I was living here, trying to live here for a couple months. And I could be wrong, but I think we went to Casa Vega, up in like the valley.
Yeah.
And it was one of my last nights here. And I excused myself and went down to the bathroom, and I go down inside the bathroom, and it's me and Johnny Depp. So I have this like crazy story of, I went to the bathroom next to Johnny Depp. He probably doesn't remember that, but. So I have to ask you, I typically hate asking people this, like, what was it like working with so-and-so? But do you have a fun story, like meeting Johnny Depp? I feel like everybody has to.
Yes, absolutely. And that set, it was almost obscenely fun. It was so creative. It was such an incredible experience. Tim would have this thing when he really liked to take. He has such an ebullient spirit that you would see him almost bouncing up and down off camera, and you would know that he was happy when that was happening. And what was funny with meeting Johnny was I went in, we did a whole series of makeup and hair tests, because as you know, Tim is a very visual director, and so much of it is getting that universe, that visual language. And so they brought me to do a whole series of tests, and originally they wanted to see if they could have my hair curl, and my hair doesn't like to curl very much, so eventually they used a wig, and they actually repurposed Barbara Hershey's wig from another project, and everyone on the movie wore wigs. Johnny wore a wig, Bill Murray had a wig, Sarah Jessica Parker had a wig, Patricia Arquette had a wig, so we all ended up in wigs. But so the first test, I go in, and Yolanda Tusig was doing the hair, and V. Neal was doing the makeup. And so I go to Yolanda's chair, and she basically did these tight pin curls on my head that were so tight that it just looked like I had no hair. And she used these pins that I have never seen since. I don't know what they are, but basically each pin had 2 prongs sticking up from it that had these very brightly colored little balls on them. And I'm talking about like canary yellow, fuchsia, electric blue, like purple, just crazy colors. So she finishes, and I essentially look bald with this ring of balls, these tiny little colored balls around my head. I go to sit in V's chair, and she said, you know what, since it's gonna be a while, I want your hair to set and everything, why don't you just go back to your trailer, get into wardrobe, and then we'll do your makeup later. So I have very fair skin, dark circles under my eyes, have always had that since I was young. My mom has it, my whole family has it. I'm in the trailer, I go there, they don't have my wardrobe ready yet. There is a robe that is, I kid you not, it's so huge, it would make Jason Momoa look tiny. Like, it's gigantic. I put it on and it is bright, bright fuchsia. So I basically am lost in this thing. I look like a little floating bald head with brightly colored balls around my head, dark circles. I have never looked so terrible in my entire life. I mean, to this day, I have never looked so terrible. I wait about an hour. I swing my trailer door open, thinking like, I'll just see if I should get back into makeup. And standing right next to my trailer, hair flopping down, looking really like movie star handsome, like incredible, smoking a cigarette. Johnny is standing there and he looks up and he goes, "Oh, hey." And I go, "Oh, hey." And he's like, "Are you Juliet?" And I'm thinking to myself, can I say no? Is there any way? Would that be weird? Like, it will probably be really weird. And I'm like, okay, I have to say it's me. And I'm thinking, I have sunglasses. Can I like mosey over to the sunglasses way across the trailer and try to put them on? And I'm thinking, you know, it's not going to help. I'm like bald. I look terrible. And I keep thinking during the whole conversation, he's saying to me, "Oh my God, Tim loved your audition so much he made me watch it 6 times through." We have this whole conversation. I have no idea what else is being said, and it was like this crazy experience. So then we continue talking, we wrap it up, I close the door, and of course I'm having this moment going like, oh my God, why, no? And I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, he dated Winona Ryder, he understands fair skin and dark circles. No, why? So then cut to about 2 hours later, after going through all the works, hair, makeup. I now am in my wardrobe that was Colleen Atwood had done, you know, designed and was beautiful. And I swing open the trailer door to go for the camera test, and standing in the exact same spot, Johnny, he's got another cigarette, he looks up, again his hair kind of falling over his face, and he looks up and he does the most enormous double take and goes, "Juliet?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, I do scrub up, you know, okay." And then I went off and did the camera test. But yeah, that was my meeting with Johnny Depp.
I feel like Johnny Depp and the musician Tom Waits, if you ever meet either one of them, you're going to have a story that just stays with you to the end.
Yeah. Well, you have one in the bathroom, right?
Right? My dad tells everybody that story. It's like we meet for the first time and I'd be like, "Hey, let me tell you about the time that my son pissed next to Johnny Depp." It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, please don't.
At least you didn't have these pin curls and, you know, the balls around your head.
Right. So let's talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Drusilla. You know, being a fan of horror, I love vampire movies. Drusilla sticks with me. Like, she's one of those vampires or vampiresses, whatever you want to say, that just is iconic, you know?
Thank you.
The episodes that you worked on Buffy, do you have a favorite memory?
Again, so many memories. I can share about that audition process. I actually didn't audition. I went in for a creative meeting, which was fantastic. And I remember I did a little bit of Drusilla in the room where I sort of wafted up to the ceiling and talked to it. And they were saying, "Oh, you know, Drusilla could be American or she could be English." And I said, "Oh, she really needs to be English, I think, for the history of, you know, length of time when and everything she's gone through." And they said, "Yeah, if we can get a Spike who can do an English accent or is English, that's the way that we would like to go." And it was really fun. And I left, and before I got to my car, my phone rang. And my agent, same agent, I pick up the phone and I say, "I don't have the bathroom key," because I'm there. And we had this running joke by this point about, you know, stuff that would come through fast. And she said, no, they want to hire you. And I said, "But I haven't even left the lot yet. I haven't even gotten to my," "Really?" And they just said, "Yeah." And it was one of those things where it was just sort of felt like kismet. And then they paired me with the final choices for Spike. And the moment that James Marsters came in, we just had an incredible acting chemistry. And we were doing the scene which is with the Anointed One when we're first introduced. And James came in with a Southern accent. And then they said, oh, we actually want the character to be English. And he, on a dime, became the Spike that we know and love. And we started reading the scene with the Anointed One for his audition, and instead of talking to the Anointed One like all the other actors who had come in, we just started talking to each other and coming together and coming together and coming together, and our heads came together as if we might kiss, and then all of a sudden at a certain point it was like, oh yeah, we're talking to him, and we turned out and we talked to him. And so when James was cast, it was really fun because we would get the scripts for season 2 about a week in advance, and he has a really strong theater background, as I do, and so we would get together and we would rehearse, and so we'd come in really prepared. And so we said, oh wait, there was that amazing thing that happened organically in your audition. What was it? Oh yeah, we should make sure we do that when we shoot. So we did, and then what was really fun about it is when they were doing promos for the new season, they used that clip, so they had our heads coming together and coming together and coming together, and then us turning out, and the MC said, evil has a few new faces. And it was just wonderful because it came really out of just something that was so alive and what we call moment-to-moment acting work.
I think that in the Buffyverse, is Buffyverse?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Buffy
Yeah.
universe?
Yeah.
There's that picture of you and Spike together. I see a lot of people getting that signed. It's like that red background, red drape.
Yes.
It's just beyond beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing.
In preparation, when we started talking about sitting down and doing this, I tend to overthink things. And I'm like, okay, looking back at your work and seeing Drusilla and thinking about that, like, why has it really stuck, you know, in my psyche, as I'm sure everybody else's? And I started digging deep, and I came across an interview. I don't remember when it was, but it was when you first got the part and you were trying to build the character of Drusilla. And I don't remember, I think somebody told you that basically she's playful, but she's also violent. She's very dark and she's very light. And I was like, that's gotta be it, because out of everybody in the show, yours was kind of hit all those marks for everybody who was watching.
I thought it was so fascinating to get to play her because of all those contradictions. That's one of the things that in a way made her human, even though she's supernatural, because we all are rife with contradictions. We have so many things going on at any moment, and I felt like the writing of Drusilla and getting the opportunity to inhabit her skin really enabled me to go to so many different places, and there were just so many dynamics. Very often if you're playing a villainous character, that's sort of the thing, but you know, there was also this epic love story. There was also this epic tragedy in terms of her background and having been tormented and abused. There's just so many layers. So it's that thing of like peeling back the onion, that there's always more and more and more there.
Now, going to the world of Angel, the Angel universe, any memories that stand out from that? So
many. I mean, it's hard to even distill it into a few memories, but one of my favorite episodes on Angel was Reunion, and it's when Darla and Drusilla team up and ultimately we eat the team of lawyers.
Daddy's home. Yeah, spank us till Tuesday. You promise to be bad if you do.
And that episode was just so much fun. Jim Cotner directed it, and he really let it come out of what was happening in the scenes, and so he'd say sort of let's watch it, and then he'd figure out where to place the camera based on that. And there was just something so fun. The only thing that was crazy with that episode that I'm remembering as I'm talking to you is that Julie Benz had the flu for an episode that we had done just prior, where we were shooting in downtown Los Angeles, and I think we obviously did a lot of night shoots being vampires. We couldn't go out during the day, and especially for the exteriors, we would work, you know, sort of crazy hours. And so I think it was, you know, something like 5 or 6 in the morning before the sun was coming up, and we were shooting the sequence where I have a burn makeup and there's a fire hydrant, and they actually turned the fire hydrant up so hard that we were trying to keep the take where we were just trying to sit up without being forced over by the force of the water. But Julie had the flu, and I made the mistake of saying like, oh, I never get the flu when I work. And the next thing, of course, after being besotted with water over and over all night, I come down with, I think it was like 105 or 106 fever for the scene when we come in and we eat all the lawyers in the next episode, and we sort of, torment them, and then we do away with them. And so it was crazy. I was burning up, and I remember Dane Johnson doing the makeup, and I was like, you are a magician, because I looked so ill. And then when he was finished, I was like, oh my God, I almost believe I feel good. And then we shot that whole sequence, and it was just one of those things, they call it doctor theater, where you're not feeling well, but somehow it just goes away, and you do what you need to do. And it was really an extraordinary sequence to shoot.
Now, real quickly, in preparation for this, I'd say once every 3 or 4 days, Dev, Juliet's husband, is off camera. I'd get a phone call from him saying, you know what, I really like what you're doing. You should ask her about this too, because she's got really good stories. You got some really good stories. So we have a list. We have a list.
Oh my goodness.
And
that's no fair. It's because he likes to embarrass me, actually. So he's like, oh, this is a good one.
No, I think it's part of the charm of being in Hollywood, or working in the industry. When you make your living, or make a hobby, a living, whatever you want to say it, telling stories, and all of a sudden you naturally have stories.
Yes.
Like with us, people see the final product, but the real adventure is, Jessica and I
process,
traveling.
Yeah.
So we don't show people that. So
yeah, and you're going to Italy soon, so you're going to have a whole slate of new adventures coming up.
A whole bunch of religious horror. But enough about us. So
Can't wait.
Drusilla.
Yes.
Taking Drusilla out.
So I have a thing
That's all I got was the notes. Taking Drusilla
out. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I have a thing that I like to do with characters, especially when you're dealing with a character that, as we were saying, she had so many elements to her, or if there's a dialect or that kind of thing. I like to do something I call taking my character out, because first of all, when you're working on a set, especially, a set can be 350 people, it can be 500 people, and you have to be open and hearing everything that's going on, but then keep your focus and being able to be fluid with keeping the character going. And so that's a perfect thing of being in the world and going out and dealing with people, but then keeping your character going. The other thing is that it really informs how other people relate to you, tells you a lot about your character. So, I remember I was playing a really trampy character, and the way I went out like that, and the way that people interacted with me, the way different men talked to me than normally talk to me, and the way that they talked to me, or if I was playing a character on another show that I did where, Not Too Swift, the way that people slowed down their speech and talked to me as if I wasn't, quite with it, and like all of that stuff, it informs a lot. So with Drusilla, I decided to take her out at night, of course, and I thought, I need to go in general, I pick places that I've never been before, and that, because one time I actually was taking out a Russian character for a movie that I was doing, and I remember I went into a shop, and the saleswoman said, like, wait a minute, aren't you Juliet Landau? Why are you talking with a Russian accent? So you have to, figure it out. So I went to a liquor store, actually. It's in our neighborhood, since we live near one another, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go there, and I sort of was wafting up and down the aisles and doing my Drusilla thing, and there was a man at the register, and there was this woman giving him a very hard time, and they were going back and forth, and she was not particularly well. She seemed to be having some problems, and he was having problems with her, and I saw that they were having this exchange, and I kind of wafted my way up to the counter, as Drusilla does, the way that Drew moves, and I was standing there, and I saw him talking with her, and he kind of went like, oh my God, exasperated, looked at me and kind of rolled his eyes like, this woman is crazy, I do not know what to do with her. And then all of a sudden he froze, and his eyes got really wide, and I saw him look at me and think, oh no, another one. And I thought, okay, I think I've got this character now.
The next name on my list,
Yes.
all it says is one word.
What is it?
Tarantino.
Oh, okay. So yeah, when I first met Quentin, I was at a party and we had a waiter came up and was offering us beverages, and he said, no liquids, I'm terribly allergic to them. And I was looking at Quentin kind of going like, why does that sound familiar? What's happening? And he was looking at me and he said, Juliet, that's your dialogue from Ed Wood. I was like, oh, because I was thinking to myself, why isn't he drinking liquids? And why is that familiar? And obviously, because, you know, once you're not doing it anymore, you kind of don't think, but I was like, that sounds vaguely familiar. And anyway, it was a funny moment because he fed it back to me, because he has an encyclopedic memory for things, and so he did it verbatim. It was incredible.
I have heard that. And it's funny because as you said it before you told the part that he was, you know, was feeding you the line, I'm sitting over here going, where do I know that from?
Right.
I'm a big
See,
Ed
you
Wood
did what
fan.
I did.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. And it was funny because I was thinking, what is that? Why does that sound so familiar?
Hi, would you like some water?
No. No water. No liquids. I'm terribly allergic to them.
The two vampires that stick with me. Somebody says, give me two vampires. The first one is Drusilla, and the other one is Gary Oldman.
Oh my God.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. And you wrote and directed a movie called A Place
Among the Dead.
A Place Among the Dead.
Yep.
He was in that. There's so
Yes.
many, it's so many awesome people in that.
Yes, Gary Oldman, Ron Perlman,
Yeah.
Robert Patrick, Lance Henriksen, and best-selling author Anne Rice, the only time she ever acted in a movie, which was just so unbelievable.
Now, you and your husband, you guys pretty much funded this together.
Well, we raised the financing. We had
Okay.
private investors, and so we did, the traditional way of sort of raising money for it. And we co-wrote and co-produced.
And it's done, it's out, people can watch
Yes,
that.
yep. It had its worldwide streaming and Blu-ray release last year on Friday, October the 13th. And so, yeah, it is out and it's streaming everywhere. And actually, the Blu-ray with nearly 5 hours of bonus extras is also available on Amazon Prime and 40 other, if not more, outlets as well.
I need you to be a mess.
We need you to be a mess.
You have to be weak.
Be weak. Be an avog.
I'm making a vampire documentary.
Crime section, this may be rough.
The only thing I know for sure is that he is a detailed and meticulous psychopath.
You have this way of taking things to the edge.
It's important not to get too close to the flame.
Leave it alone. I mean, you're like a f***ing dog with a bone with this thing. Just cut and I'll talk to you.
He's baiting you, leading you into his world.
Stay back! Code 4, suspect GOA.
I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna vanquish the evil in you. Give up. Let go.
Let go of your strength.
That's my baby.
You're killing yourself, losing yourself.
A place among the dead.
Same thing with Gary Oldman, like Johnny Depp. Do you have a story with Gary Oldman?
Gary was just unbelievable. In the movie, A Place Among the Dead is a genre-bending, elevated horror movie which explores the repercussions of growing up under the sway of narcissism and psychological abuse. And Gary, as well as myself, everybody who's known in the movie play alter ego versions of themselves. And so when I was working with Gary, it was really wonderful because ultimately he actually said, oh my gosh, this is the most I've ever seen myself like me on film in a movie. Because essentially he is playing himself. But when we were shooting, he kept saying things like, we'd do a take and he'd go, so, was that all right? Was it okay? And I'd say, yeah. And then the next day he'd go, but does it seem like me? Like really, really like me? I'd be like, and he'd say, but does it, and then finally I said, you know what, Gary? You really do have this acting thing down. Like, you were so good in this. It was so, I mean, every take, it was just playing with him was like a dance or a tennis match where, the ball is being lobbed and stuff is happening. And it was just so much fun. And then the thing that was also adorable is his mother had always wanted to be an actress, and we gave her a role in the film. She plays the nun in our movie, and she was so excited about it, and Gary actually drove her to set and would run lines with her. She was 95 at the time, and she had more energy than all of us. I mean, the thing that was hysterical is we shot 12, 13-hour days, and then she wanted to go out and party afterwards. We're like, Kay, aren't you tired? But what was so cute about Kay is since she had never done it before, I would go, and action. She'd go, are we gonna have a go? And I'd say, yes. And then I'd say, whenever I say, and action, we're gonna have a go. I'd say, and action. We're gonna have a go now? Say, yes, when I say action, right then is when we're gonna have a go. And then I'd go, and action. So now we're gonna have a go. So then I just started going, and we're gonna have a go. And she did it. It was great.
Fingers and bones crossed. I'm gonna hear something about vampires here. But what do you have? Do you have anything coming, anything you're working on now or any projects coming down the pike anytime soon?
I do. I have a lot of different projects, and some of them vampire related. So right now, currently, I have just recently launched Re-Vamped with Juliet Landau, which is the first ever Buffy podcast with a cast member as the guide. This has never been done before. And on the original series, as you know, Buffy's friends were called the Scooby Gang, which was a reference to Scooby-Drew. Excuse me, Scooby-Doo. And on the show, my character was Drusilla, who was also known as Drew. And so on the podcast, my co-hosts are Scooby-Drew, which I said. Should I take that over, or is it?
No, it's perfect.
My co-hosts are Scooby-Drew, which is hysterical. She just really lends her mischief and very singular POV to the mix. We have Sire Rebecca and Watcher Dev, my husband as well. And we really have, what fans love. We have heartfelt nostalgia, and we also are having a continuation of the characters they love with new content and new entertainment as well. And it's really like we're evolving the traditional podcast format. It's not only like hanging out with your best friends, but it also is so much about, like, I'm producing what people think of as a weekly TV show or a radio show, but doing that within the podcast genre. And then I also, in terms of vampire projects, there is a project that was written expressly for me. It's an audiobook series that is called Vamp PD, and it is just so unique and funny. It is hysterical. It's not like anything I have seen or read or heard before in my life. And season 1 came out in October, and season 2 is coming out on February 14th. So that is amazing. And then non-vampire, I actually am recurring again on Bosch as Rita Tedesco, but this time on Bosch Legacy. So that is coming out in March. And then I recently did a motion capture video game where I play a character named Hezenkos in Dragon Age The Veilguard, and she's the big bad. And then last year, I did Audible Original. They made an audiobook series of related to the Buffy universe, and I was the big bad in that. And then I also did a movie where I'm starring opposite Malcolm McDowell that is called Theater of Mystery. And then in May, I am shooting a film called Memoir. So I have lots of stuff going on.
That's cool.
Thank you.
And you know, I didn't know this until I started doing some research, because you know, when you sit down to these things, you got to know what you're talking about. I didn't realize that you did voices in video games.
Oh yeah, I did the Little Sisters as well, and Bioshock, and yeah. Okay, so Bioshock, what often happens, I was called actually the day before recording Bioshock by Ken Levine, who designed the game, and he had someone else record it, and then he wasn't getting what he wanted, and he all of a sudden said, oh wait, Juliet, I've seen what she's done with Drusilla and with a number of other roles, and I think she'll really get what I'm trying to get here with all the, you know, different layers to the character. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to do it, and I hadn't told Dev that I was doing it yet. We hadn't had a chance, and I apparently have this habit of talking in character in my sleep sometimes. And so we were sleeping, and the little sister's voice, I haven't done it in a while, so it, you know, might not come out exactly, but it's not treated. It's like, and the character is a demon child, so it's very high pitched. And so apparently I said, and this is something I have never said in my life before or after. We don't have children. I don't know where it came from. I've never used this word, but apparently I said, because the other character that I talked to, I said, Mr. Bubbles, I have to go potty. And Deb woke up and was like, what is happening here? And I was like, I woke up and I said, what do you mean? And he goes, you're what's happening? And I said, what did I say? And he told me what I said, and it was apparently obviously because of Bioshock, but I scared the living daylights out of Dev with my creepy demon child in the middle of the night. If you didn't know this, I was in Ed Wood and I played Loretta King. Oh, it's so pristine, I'm nervous. Woo. All right, here we go. Brand new poster.
That's beautiful.
That one looks nice. Yay!
A lot of people don't realize that when you get things signed, you have to allow drying time.
Yes.
Right?
I always say that when I'm signing. I'm like, make sure, you know, because otherwise,
If you collect, there are horror stories. I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the video, but a huge thank you to Mud here in Burbank, which is the makeup designery. Last time we were up here, they made you into a vampire in this very room. In fact, you were sitting on the other side right there.
You're right. Yeah. 6 hours I was in that chair.
But a huge thank you to Mud and Dev and Juliet Landau for sitting and telling us stories. And for these go up on our wall. It's our own private collection. Until next time, remember, happy Halloween. Boo. Oh, that was like perfect. That was creepy.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.